Hello, another update on the Ukrainian war. In Azovstal today, there was another group of militants who surrendered. Now, this group appeared quite different from the other groups. Seems that there's a lot of foreigners in this group, based on the various dress and different hats and so on. They don't look like typical Ukrainians. And I presume that you'll find a large amount of mercenaries and NATO military members in this group. Now, also, there seems to be several who look like civilians. They don't look like your typical military fellas. And some are even wearing civilian clothes. Now, these, I'm presuming, are intelligence officers, various foreigners that were sympathizers with Azov, and NATO personnel that probably were not in the military. And you may also have, as the theory goes, that there was a bioweapons lab inside the Azovstal tunnel system. So find out about that as well. There was also some news about 6 militants that died in an explosion, supposedly trying to destroy ammunition. Okay. Now, that might make a little sense, like if you just not aware of everything going on over there, in the Azovstal. But I think there's something more to that story. And this is, just going out on a limb here. If the bioweapons lab is true, and I would say that there's a very good chance that it is true. Now remember, the Azov battalion chose Azovstal to make a last stand for a reason, right? They could have gone to where their headquarters was, and they actually might have gotten away if they did that. But for some reason, and my guess, they were instructed to defend the Azovstal plant. Okay? Now, this fits with the story of the bioweapons lab. Now keep in mind, there's like 30 some bioweapons labs in Ukraine, and my guess is one, or at least maybe one of the biggest ones, and run probably by NATO, was in that building. And that's why you got all those NATO people in there, foreigners and civilians in this group. And this was probably a group that they told, don't come out. And all those attempts that they were trying to rescue, the people in Azovstal, it was probably to get these people out. But it didn't work out so well. Now, these people were probably told not to come out, but I'm sure when they heard the Russian earth-moving equipment above, because that's what the Russians were doing, they moved in bulldozers and other equipment. And now the Russians knew where some of these entrances and exits presumably were in the plant. And they started to, level these buildings and so on where these exits were. And so that they probably heard that, and they were probably thinking, well, we're going to be entombed in here if we don't do something quick. And their plan was probably that they were going to lie low, make the Russians think that they were all gone, they all surrendered. And then when the Russians left, they're going to crawl out in civilian clothes and go into Mariupol, blend in, and then find a way out over time and end up back over in Kiev. Okay, that's probably what, in their kind of delusional mind, that they were probably thinking. But keep in mind, the Russians know what's going on. They've done lots of interrogations already, and the prisoners. They know that there's NATO people in there. They know. Now, I'm sure a lot of the regular guys in there didn't know about the bioweapons lab and things like that. They're probably not told all their secrets. It's probably down a corridor you're not allowed to go down. Okay. Now you have these militants that died, with the ammunition explosion that was announced today, and that story is very fishy, because all over Ukraine they're surrendering right and left, and they're not blowing up their ammunition supplies. Okay, this one is different, and it's not probably really ammunition or ammunition alone that they blew up. My guess is they took anything and everything that was some kind of evidence in that biolab, and they blew it all up. Now, since it's in an underground area, it's not so easy to blow things up. It's a little dangerous. And they probably died from doing that. But it's something that they, quote, probably had to do. They were told to do. Now, keep in mind that if NATO is associated with this biolab, and if NATO is associated even with Azov battalion, that's not going to look very well. And one of the main things is, like in the beginning, you know, a lot of the sheep won't really put it all together. They don't really understand what Azov battalion is. They kind of still think of them as some kind of right-wing heroes, but they're not. They're comparable to like ISIS in the way the United States was supporting ISIS in Syria. This is an extremely evil organization, capable of nothing less than pure evil, terrorizing civilians. Why do you think they were put in Mariupol? They're put in there to terrorize the civilians, because the civilians there didn't want to be part of Ukraine. They wanted to be part of Russia. They were terrorizing them to prevent them from doing referendums and for voting against the Ukrainians, the Ukrainian government, rather. So, the whole thing with the Azov battalion, it all starts to make a lot of sense now. Why they ended up in Mariupol, bioweapons lab in Azovstal plant. All these people coming out now looking, like NATO people, other, foreign mercs, a lot of civilians starting to come out. It fits with the whole biolabs narrative, and this being one of the largest probably biolabs, in my guess, in Ukraine, of the 30 that are there, and that they were protecting it. And that's why they sent the Azov battalion there, as that would be their focal point of their final stand, and win, supposedly in their eyes, to preserve their crown jewel, the evil biolab experimenting on SARS viruses, anthrax, Ebola, and all these other beautiful little tools of evil empires. That's what they were doing. So we'll find out over time, probably. I'm sure that the mainstream media in the United States will never mention any of these things. And again, I'm going out on a limb a little bit, but I think we can put some of these, some of these dots together, start connecting things, and make some hypotheses here. But we'll probably get some information over time from the Russians as far as the biolab there. But they got to get down there, and they got to get in there. And it's probably behind a lot of sealed doors, so it's not going to be very easy. And we'll probably find some dead NATO commanders in there, is my guess, when they finally get in there. So anyway, thanks for listening.